Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a look at the VK100 versus the VK.168, and we're going to decide which tank is the worst. These two tanks they're not great, to be honest. The VK100 was great, but yeah, not so much now. Now, the DPM, all the top, you can see there, all the stats of both tanks are exactly the same. The VK168, the aim time is slightly better, however the dispersion is the same and the gun depression is also the same. So they are two big super heavy tanks, but why are they not good? I mean, they're very slow to start off with, they're very heavy, and there's just too much for me. There's too many weak points of both tanks. The VK100 used to, when it was first released, I actually did a video on the top 5 most OP tanks in the game, and that was actually rated in that top 5. It was absolutely insane when it first came out. Now, Wargaming nerfed the tank, they nerfed the armor, basically on the hatch. The hatch was almost impenetrable. You couldn't pen the hatch, and if you're hiding the bottom plate, then it was very difficult to pen. But since Wargaming nerfed the hatch, it's just so easy. You can't really hold down, you can't really side scrape, and it's just too many weak points on both of these tanks. Now, this tank is an ugly mother effer. It's basically looks like it's going to the reverse. Basically, the turret's been put on backwards and whatever, and it's an ugly tank. It really is an ugly tank. But because of how big, I mean, look how big it is, look how big the turret is. The hatch is weak as well. Because of how big it is and the angles of these turret, when you start to sort of turn, you also become, it makes your turret very, very weak. Side scraping as well, you can't really side scrape in this. I'm not sure about the VK100, but the VK168, if you shoot the front track, you actually still do damage. I don't know if that's actually fixed. I haven't really tried it, but when this tank first came out, you can shoot the front of the track and it will still do damage. And I did say that when the tank first came out, when I made the video on the tank, I was like, yeah, if you shoot here, it still does damage. Now, I don't like that. I don't think that should happen. You shouldn't be able to shoot a track and it does damage, especially the front of a track. Yeah, the drive wheel at the side and stuff like that, yeah, but when you shoot the front of the track, you should not be able to do damage. However, this tank, it does do that, unless it's been fixed, but I haven't heard of it being fixed. But this tank especially, like I said, it's an ugly tank. It's very, very slow. It's, when it comes for sale, it is very cheap. It is very cheap, and I would still recommend buying the tank, and that's for one reason really, and that is because of things like gravity mode. This tank is insane, absolutely insane in games like gravity mode. I enjoy it in gravity mode. They go fast. Obviously, when they're in the air, if you ram something, you're literally taking someone out completely. Someone could be full hit points, and if you're in the air, you go in the air and you hit someone, you will literally take them out. Full hit points, literally balls deep, boom, bang, gone. So other than the game modes, that it's not really an exciting tank to play. Considering it is a big, massive, super heavy, you would think it has more armor. I mean, the armor isn't too bad. The armor isn't too bad, but there's just too many weak points. You can't really side scrape in it. You can't do what I'm doing here. You can't literally face hug. You can't side hug. It's a difficult tank. It really is a difficult tank to play. The gun's okay. But for me, it's weak. It really is weak. And again, when I first found out about this tank coming into the game, we was actually at Tank Fest, and we was shown this tank on the devices. We was able to play this tank before it was actually released, and we even said at the Tank Fest, we said this to Wargaming, like, this tank is shit. We literally had one battle in it at Tank Fest, and we was just like, yeah, this tank is crap. It really is crap. So would I recommend buying it when it comes for sale? 100% yes. Even though it's bad, but only for game modes. I mean, you could probably get it, I think, what, 5-6k gold, something like that, when it comes for sale. I would definitely recommend buying it because of the game modes. Now, the VK100, as I've said, it does look a bit better. It's not as big. The turret's not as big as the 168. I probably prefer this. I do probably prefer this. Now, this tank is still quite a bad tank now. It still is a bad tank, and it's still an ugly tank, which is why I put the 9 lives camo on it, because I just think it looks hideous, and I think it suits it. I really do think the cat camo suits this tank. Now, this you can actually still get some bounces, which we've seen here. Straight up, we do bounce some shots, and when you're side on, you can easily get penned. You can see we're getting penned there from the Tiger. We're getting ripped apart by a freaking Tiger 1. It's because of the shape of the turret, because it's not complete. It's flat, but it goes in different angles. So as soon as you start turning your turret, it becomes weak. So you got to try it and sort of side scrape, but with your turret facing the enemy. That's how you're going to get some bounces, because it's also, as soon as you start to side scrape, your side plates become very weak as well. So they are very difficult tanks to play. They are very difficult tanks to play. You can't just roll up and expect to bounce everything. There is certain ways that you need to angle your tank to be able to get them bounces, and of course hiding that hatch is a must. It's not a massive hatch, so I mean, it is on the left side, so if you can go sort of side scraping on the left side, then yeah, you may be able to hide the hatch. But it also has the massive front plate at the bottom, the massive square, that's really easy to penetrate as well. So overall, both tanks are bad. This used to be OP, and if I was to choose a tank out of both of them, like if I had a gun to my head and someone said, right, you have to choose what tank is worse, I would definitely pick the 168. I think this is better than the 168, probably because of it's a little bit smaller. The turret is a little bit smaller. I don't think you can shoot the front of the tracks and do damage. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Whereas the 168 you can, and that for me is a massive negative on the tank when you're trying to side scrape, or if you're hiding the best bit of your armor and they can just shoot your track and still do damage. Yeah, it's not great. It really isn't. It really isn't great. But both tanks, I mean, this tank is good for things like tournaments because it does have the hit points. I mean, over 2,000 hit points, which is more than some tier 10s, like tier 10 mediums or whatever like that. So both tanks are not good. They're both super heavy, tier 8 super heavy German tanks. But as I've said, if I was to choose one, if I was to choose the worst, it's the 168. The 168 is much worse. But let me know your opinion. What tank do you think is worse out of both of these tanks? Let me know in the comments below. And also hit that subscribe button. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I am meadsy69, and I'll catch you all very soon. Bye-bye.